Peanut butter blossoms are best known as a Christmas cookie, which to me makes absolutely no sense. Not just because they're good year-round, but they're not really flavored with Christmas spices. And don't get me wrong, I love one at Christmas, but I also want one in April. So this video is me showing you how to make my peanut butter blossoms. But in addition to that, it's also a petition to make this cookie a year-round cookie, because it deserves it. Given that this recipe will most often be followed in the holidays, it's a big recipe. It makes 36 cookies, but feel free to cut the recipe in half and just make 18. It will work just as well if you cut all the ingredients in half. Okay, so to start, let's combine our dry ingredients. So in a bowl, I'm going to mix together 2 cups of all-purpose flour with 1 full teaspoon of baking soda. And the baking soda gives the cookie its characteristic lift and taste and texture. It's exclusively a baking soda cookie. There is no baking powder in it, and that makes it kind of different from other Christmas cookies or year-round cookies. 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. And I'm just gonna whisk this together until it is all incorporated and then set it aside. All right, in the bowl of my stand mixer, I'm gonna combine my wet ingredients. So first I'm gonna add 1 stick of room temperature butter. You want it to be room temperature so that it incorporates with everything else really easily. The next ingredient is 3/4 of a cup of creamy peanut butter. And you want a peanut butter that doesn't naturally separate. So you want one that's kind of ready to go as soon as you open the jar. Okay, so 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter going right in. All right, the next ingredient is granulated sugar. In the ingredients list, you'll notice it says 3/4 of a cup divided, and that's because we're only gonna add half a cup of granulated sugar now. The other 1/4 cup of granulated sugar is used to coat the outside of the cookie dough balls. And then half a cup of brown sugar. The mix of granulated sugar and brown sugar makes it both crisp and a little chewy, lending a slight touch of that molassesy brown sugar flavor while not overtaking the whole cookie. So with my sugars, peanut butter, and butter in the bowl, I'm gonna lock my mixer in place and beat it on medium-high until it's really lightened and fluffy, which will take about 3 minutes. Now simply scrape down the sides of your bowl just to make sure that no peanut butter or butter is stuck to the sides and not incorporated. And then we're going to turn the mixer back on and add the eggs one at a time. There are 2 eggs in the recipe, and you want to make sure that each egg is fully incorporated before adding the next egg. Once the eggs are incorporated, we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 1 full tablespoon of whole milk. After the addition of the eggs, milk, and vanilla, you want to beat it for about 2 minutes, and this allows the mixture to almost double in volume, trapping a bunch of air in this mixture that will eventually be trapped in the dough, and that will help the cookie to puff and expand pretty dramatically in the oven. So with my mixture right here, it smells amazing. It smells like peanut butter and vanilla. We can add our dry ingredients. This is really important because once I add my dry mixture into the wet, I only want to mix it on low for about a minute until the dry ingredients are incorporated and have been absorbed into the liquid mixture, but not until the dough is overmixed or overworked. That will make a tough cookie that isn't as pleasant to eat. So only mix for about a minute or until you notice that no dry pockets of flour remain. Use your spatula to give it a last little turn, just to make sure that any of the dry bits that may still be a little unincorporated can be incorporated gently using the spatula rather than aggressively using the stand mixer. My dough looks great. It's really soft, and as you push your spatula through it, it makes kind of like those cracked ridges that are typical of peanut butter cookie dough. All right, now it's time to shape my cookies. So I have my dough here. I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. And I've got a couple parchment paper lined baking sheets. If you're gonna put 12 cookies on a sheet, then you're gonna need 3. And I am going to shape this dough into 1.5 inch wide dough balls. And then once I've rolled them into the balls, I'm going to roll them in the additional 1/4 cup of granulated sugar called for in the recipe. This sugar on the outside will partially dissolve into the cookie, but then after the cookie cools, it makes the outside kind of extra crisp. And also when we push the Hershey's Kiss into the center of the cookie dough, the sugar on the surface helps facilitate the crack all around the exterior of the cookie, which makes the peanut butter blossom look kind of dramatic and eye-catching. With 1 tray done, I'm going to go ahead and bake them. Timing for this process is crucial because what will happen is as the cookies bake for the first 7 minutes in the oven, they'll puff because of the baking soda and the air trapped in the egg and the sugar. And then we will actually take them out before they're done baking and smush one of these Hershey's Kisses into the center of each of these cookies. It will cause the cookie to expand out and take a circular shape, and it will also make the exterior of the cookie crack in a really beautiful way. So one, you need to have your timer set for 7 minutes so that you're ready to pull it out, and have a safe place to put a hot baking sheet that you can work on before putting it back in the oven for the final 3 to 5 minutes that it takes to both finish cooking the inside and the outside of the cookie, slightly browning it a little bit, and also to melt the Hershey's Kiss center just enough so that it maintains its shape, but when you take a bite, it's like biting through a really smooth ganache. Before I put these in the oven, I want to make sure I already have my Hershey's Kisses unwrapped, because if you're unwrapping them after you pull them out of the oven, the cookies will cool too much before going back into the oven and it'll mess up the baking process. So I already have my first 12 Hershey's Kisses unwrapped right here, so that when I pull these out of the oven, I can smash each of them with a Hershey's Kiss. So now I'm going to transfer my baking sheet to the oven for the first 7 minutes of baking. You'll notice that the cookies have puffed. You want to work quickly. Just press it right in the center, and you can see that the edges crack and it looks really wonderful. All right, I'm going to return this to the oven for another 3 to 5 minutes, just until the edges become slightly golden brown. Once they finish baking, transfer them to a cooling rack and allow them to cool for at least 15 minutes before eating. Personally, my favorite time to eat one of these is when it's still a little bit warm so that the chocolate is kind of melty. So here we go. See what I mean? The Hershey's Kiss just kind of collapses as you bite into the cookie. It's a little salty. It's crisp on the outside from the granulated sugar that we rolled the dough in, but the inside is just like melt in your mouth peanut buttery. It is so good, and I stand by my statement that these should be a cookie that we enjoy all year long, not just at the holidays. So whenever you watch this video, make some for yourself and see what I mean. If you've enjoyed the video that you've seen today, subscribe to the Southern Living YouTube channel, where you're sure to find other videos just like this one that we know you'll enjoy. Thanks so much. Bye.